Somebody said this, and it caught my attention. They mentioned that they were around for the bicentennial in 1976, which we both were, and that we're probably not going to be around for the tricentennial in 2076.
Oh, bull crap. We got AI and we got...
Yeah, I mean...
We got Ozempic. I mean, we're good.
We may be there, but we may not know that it's happening, is the question. Like, our country needs liberals so that we don't completely lose our heart and throw everybody out in the cold. Our country needs conservatives because we need the stock market to keep rolling. Like, we need it all.
I think the biggest threat to a totalitarian government is a crowd of people.
Welcome to Bourbon and Rum, the podcast dedicated to civil conversation. I'm Kent, I like rum, and I'm from the left side of the aisle.
And I'm Kyle, I like bourbon. I tend to be a little more conservative. We're brothers talking politics over bourbon and rum.
What are you drinking?
Well, people are going to say it's a...
Should I guess what you're into?
I know people are going to say it's a plot with the C.H. Taylor thing, but my local liquor store, where I try to buy all my liquor, had a bourbon drop for 4th of July, and they now I don't know what this says about me exactly, but you put your phone number there when you buy booze, and you get points. And I think it's a point per dollar spent. We've been going there a year or so, maybe a little longer. And for this bourbon drop, they're like, well, the top shelf, only those with 2,500 points are going to be able to be eligible. And they have over 2,500 points. Now, I don't know if that really means I've spent $2,500 at this liquor store, but that's a little scary. But I forgot about the bourbon drop, and I got there like 2 hours after it started, and normally it's all cleared out. Well, I get there, and they had some good stuff left, and the guy's got a sheet, and he's like, well, I'm saving this just for our members with the 2,500 points, and it's all in like one sheet of paper. Well, they had E.H. Taylor barrel proof, which honestly, of the E.H. Taylors, the barrel proof is the top in my mind. I mean, they've got some other specialty ones they've released over the years that are super expensive, but the barrel proof is really consistently good. It's this batch is the third batch of 2025, which again, nerding out, but you have to look, it's tattooed on the bottom of the bottle. It'll tell you some information. You can figure out which batch it is. 127.3 proof. And, it's aged about 10 years, and it's delicious. So awesome. What are you drinking?
Well, usually I drink just cheap off-the-shelf stuff. Last time I had one that I picked up in Grenada. This is another Grenadian rum that I bought. This one is wild. This is called River Antoine, or Rivers Rum. And here's what the blurb on AI says. Operating since 1785, Rivers is a living museum and a holy grail for rum purists. Operates completely without electricity, using gravity and a water wheel from 1840 to crush estate-grown sugarcane. The fresh cane juice is boiled down in open-air cauldrons, subjected to a completely wild ambient fermentation for up to 10 days, and distilled in antique wood-fired copper pot stills. It's crazy. It's and 138 proof. Hot and delicious.
Wow.
Crazy stuff.
So we're both on the high proof. That's good.
Exactly. Well, it is the 5th of July. And I was thinking, somebody said this, and it caught my attention. They mentioned that they were around for the bicentennial in 1976, which we both were, and that we're probably not going to be around for the tricentennial in 2076.
Oh, bull crap. We got AI and we got...
Yeah, I mean...
We got Ozempic. I mean, we're good.
We we may be there, but we may not know that it's happening. Is the question. And I don't know. It does make me think. When was our? I'm a history buff. Were there times when it was really in jeopardy? And yeah, is the answer during the Civil War. I think very much the Union was in jeopardy. I don't know that we're in the abject danger that some people would have us to say, but I do worry about the polarization, the very thing that we're trying to rebut with the podcast. Like, there's not a lot of people trying to rebut it. There's a lot of people loving it. There's a lot of people thrilled with the hate and anger they can spin up about things. And I think that's toxic. I think that's risky for democracy. So I don't know. What do you think? You think, is it likelier that we live till 2076 or that America is still America in 50 years from now?
I think it's still going to be America. I think, they say about, you want to start a new habit and you do it for 30 days, and after 30 days, it's a habit. And I don't know. This isn't based on fact, and not only does my brother like to fact check me, but he's a really smart guy, and he's a historical genius. But I think we've lasted longer than any other form of government, and I think I don't think it's infallible, but I think it's beyond the point of, well, is this going to work or not? I think it's going to remain viable, and I think our institutions are strong. I mean, I know you don't believe that sometimes, and you think, oh, well, Trump, he's going to do this, that, the other thing. Well, he got shot down on several things by the Supreme Court last week. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's bigger than personalities and anger and frustration, and I think, it depends on the forum you see. We went and watched fireworks last night, and you're with your community out there, and everybody gets along. Granted, that is a microcosm and a small little piece, but I think as many jerks as there are out there that love trolling people on social media, I think face-to-face people are much nicer.
No, I think that's fair. And for all of my doom and gloom about Trump, I'm kind of past worried about that. I'm not happy right now, but I don't know that he's that direct threat. I'm saying, for me, less Trump the threat, more like play this out. Not Trump's going to be emperor and it's over. That's not what I'm talking about. But the more that these microcosms retreat to things, there is more divergence. I think that the experience of people living in different places is that landed with me last week. We were with another branch of the family that tend to be more aligned with where I'm at, and it's different. You know what I mean? Like
the liberal wing, are going to get the.
But like it's different. I don't know. It's like different in the foods we eat. It's different. It's different, and I wonder if that's, what does that augur for us down the road?
Can I go down a really specific rabbit hole? I'd love to explore this. I was talking to our mother tonight on the phone, and she was talking about a problem with her flag, and then the question came up about, well, did the flag touch the ground? And then that there's like a process that you go through if the flag touches the ground. I don't know about that. Like, do I care about that? I don't want to see somebody desecrate our flag, but at the same time, there's nothing supernatural about a piece of cloth. I mean, I don't know. Where are you at with that?
It's an interesting question, honestly. Ironically, maybe protests involving the flag, although they viscerally bother me, when I see that, like like it's jarring and shocking. But the fact that we live in a country that the burning of the flag in anger is one of the cardinal protections of the Constitution that we have.
Yeah.
Like I don't, and that's not what we're talking about. I mean, I think you're talking about the kind of.
But it is what we're talking about. To me, it's like, I don't know. I mean, the country's bigger than a symbol. Yeah. That's what's so great about freedom. Like, like these, you hear about these, somebody says they're going to burn the Quran, and the next thing you know, like, they're filled with hate mail and somebody's going to shoot somebody because, like, what?
Right.
It's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not into idolatry. I think that's what I would say. There's an idolatry.
And I'd love to hear, because I feel like we're in the same boat on this. And to me, it's like the guys that died on the battlefield didn't die for a piece of cloth. They died for something way bigger than a piece of cloth.
The emblem. Well, so interestingly on that, is it appropriate, if a flag touches the ground? So here's what I would say. If a bunch of people saw it touch the ground, then maybe it would be appropriate to follow through on the conventional flag burning, avoiding desecration thing, right? Because the symbolism was a bunch of people saw, if you're at a high school football game and they drop the flag on the 50, well then maybe because the symbolism now, we've got to fix that. But if it falls and nobody notices.
Well, and I mean, I don't know.
Well, so I'll go further down this rabbit hole. When I was a kid, and I assume in a lot of churches still, you go into a Christian church and there's on one side of the podium an American flag and on one side of the podium a Christian flag. And when we were kids, we said a pledge of allegiance to the American flag and a pledge of allegiance to the Christian flag, very obviously modeled on the pre-existing pledge to the American flag. And honestly, that bothers me a little bit. And again, I think my patriotic bona fides are in place, right? I think I qualified as a person who loves this country, and I think also qualify as a Christian.
I think we actually established in the last podcast that you're more patriotic with your vacation dollars than I am.
Well, I guess my point is that patriotism, where we started down this, I also want to be respectful of other people's beliefs and people who hold that strongly and adhere to that kind of standard, respect for that, right? I don't know if I would be that meticulous myself, but
respect, but
it.
Also I want to understand. Okay, so and I'm going to interrupt you, but let's take it down like a religious path, and this is where I'd love to hear from our listeners and their thoughts on this. But like, if you go in the religious path, Catholics, and you were a man of the cloth, so you can confirm this, but like. We took communion at church this morning. Well, we take a piece of bread and we take the juice and we talk about its symbolism. But Catholics, don't they believe that the bread and the juice actually become part of his body?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel qualified to, in this moment, speak for a billion Catholics worldwide, but yeah, I mean, the doctrine is transubstantiation. Real presence at the Eucharist is kind of what that means. But if you asked a billion Catholics, you would get roughly a billion answers about what that means. But to your general point, yes.
Like if the wafer falls in the ground, oh my gosh. I mean, you just let Jesus drop on the ground. I don't know. I mean, is that like a thing?
Yeah, I think there's a really high level of respect for the treatment of the elements because of the doctrine of real presence, and that's not my bag. I'm much more symbolic about that, but it's also really important. Man, we are down the rabbit hole. So next weekend I'm reading scripture at church. I love doing that, and our pastor asked, because of the way it works, some of the staff are gone, could I do a little more in the service? And so I'm also going to do the offering meditation. And she was like, do you want to do any other parts of the service? And I was like,
That's awesome.
I was like, actually, could I lead communion? Because that was the part that, as a pastor myself, that I thought was really important. And our tradition,
You know what's going to happen. You're going to do that. They're going to be like, hey, we decided to let the minister go. Would you mind being the guy on Sundays, Ken?
no, we've actually got an incredible pastor. She's really remarkable. But she understood immediately. She's like, yeah. I said, like, would it be okay if I did? Because that's the piece that I miss most, maybe. I mean, I love preaching. But yeah, it's a really special thing to me. Not in a real presence sort of way. I guess that's the kind of bringing this back, that it's a very special thing to me. And I think we are deep rabbit hole here. So the very concept of communion, I mean, unpack that word, right? What does communing mean? And it's ordinarily understood to mean a moment of communion, of connection to God. God comes near, right? Jesus establishes a ritual at the Last Supper that we celebrate as Christians. So our tradition, different traditions do it differently. The Catholic Church has that real presence element to their Eucharist, and it's like, if it's a Mass, there's communion. If there's no communion, there's no Mass, right? It's identical to that. A lot of modern evangelical churches, communion is not a central focus of the worship service. It's occasional. It's, on special days, maybe once a month, once a quarter. Our tradition growing up, and that's the tradition in which we worship now, it's a parallel sister denomination, was that we take communion every Sunday. And one of the things that you did as a church pastor in a small community in Indiana or Kentucky is you had a little kit that had, little communion cups and a little bottle for grape juice and a little bit of bread. And like, not all the time, but sometimes I would take that. If we had people that were sick and weren't able to join, I would take communion to them. But the weird thing is that I don't think it's only about communion with God. It's communion with other people.
Yeah.
And it struck me as odd that I would do this, that I would have this little, like I would serve a little piece of bread and a little piece of juice to a person. So the one thing that I always did whenever I did that is that I shared communion with them. It's communion with God, but it's communion with God's people. And I think those are inseparable.
Well, and I mean, you talk about, it's funny you mentioned that little thing, because Dad had one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but he had one. And when I was home, I would go to our grandmother's because
Mm-hmm.
she was in assisted living. So, we'd go to church, and then, okay, I would go during Sunday school. I would run over to Livonia where she lived, and I would do communion, and we'd pray, and then we'd move on, and it was like a little tradition there when I was home. But it's, yeah, I mean, if you did it alone, I mean, does anybody do that alone? Maybe somebody does that alone, but it doesn't really make any sense. If you're doing it alone, it's you and God, but then it's a little bit. But, I don't know. I'd always heard, too, of what I'd always been taught is like, and, whether, there's people that listen to our podcast that are not Christian or whatever, but like, I think there's even a Greek term for it, but that communal, like when you worship with a group, it's a different, it's a different atmosphere. And whether you're Christian, whether you are an atheist and you're listening to this show and you go to a concert, the feeling you have with a group of people in a concert is different than if you're just sitting there listening to music. And it's the same thing with worship.
Totally. No, I completely agree. I think that gets missed, and I think that got overlooked a lot. Oh man, we could make mileage out of this. We could go into church history.
Okay, let me bring it back to 4th of July. I mean, we're sitting there last night. My wife and my older daughter were like, "Yeah, it's hot. It's 100 degrees out. We're going to stay in a pool." I'm like, "All right," but my little one is like, "We're going to fireworks," and we drove around. There was this one neighborhood near us. They had it. We drove around. We couldn't find a parking spot. We pulled into it's like their municipal area where they've got a courthouse and stuff. There's a bunch of people sitting on the lawn. We grabbed the chairs. We sat down on the lawn. Boom. 10 minutes later. But you got like 200 people. Nobody knows each other. They're all just sitting there. But watching those fireworks with a group of people, that's like worship. It's a different thing than if we were just watching that in our backyard. Rich people, we were some super loaded people and we had our own fireworks show. It wouldn't be the same.
Yeah. No, I completely believe that. And in fact, my own understanding of God has morphed over the years. This is, I don't know where we're going with this. But I 100% believe that.
Ken, I don't think we're that far off. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Well, I was going to say, I think that that traditional Christianity identifies the Holy Spirit as like a third personage of the Godhead. And that's always been hard for me to understand. What I actually find as I read church history is most of what I believe about God winds up being declared a heresy at some convention back in the 400s. And so like over and over again, I'm like, oh, yeah, this makes sense to me. And then like, oh, well, at the Council of Nicaea, they declared that to be a heresy and everybody who believed that was going to hell. So like that's been my history is these things. But I totally see, in my mind, the Holy Spirit is the connection between people. And I think that's really powerful. And so much so that I think it's there's this common thought that like all religions lead to God. They're all trying to get at the same thing. And I think that's true, but I think I can be more specific than that. I think that experience that you're talking about, the experience of listening to music at a concert, the experience of being together with strangers at fireworks celebrating what do they even call it? It's not the bicentennial. It's not it's like the semi-half-cent quadricentennial, whatever it is. All of that connection with other human beings, that's like God inhabits that, right? And it's so powerful that every civilization, every group of people has to find some way to speak to that. And calling it God.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Calling it God, calling it the Holy Spirit, whatever it is, that connection among people is a really undeniable and powerful thing.
And honestly, what I was going to say is it's like, oh my gosh, we're down this rabbit hole. No, I think we're precisely hitting on the topic that we want to talk about today. And I think, I think if you're in a okay, let me just say I had one glass of the 127 proof, and now I'm like, okay, I need another glass because we were getting deep sling, and so now I'm in the 100 proof. But, you know, I think the biggest threat to a totalitarian government is a crowd of people. That's what threatens the folks that want to lock down everybody. It's almost like the key to our society is a group of people. Is a group of people watching fireworks, a group of people voting, the group of people coming together, whether it's the Constitutional Convention or whatever that group of people is. But if you're in a totalitarian regime where you're trying to lock everybody down and keep everybody away from each other, no. We don't want anybody ever together. We want everybody stuck in their little houses, repressed, and to me, that's the antidote.
I agree. But it also, that speaks to my concerns, right? That when we get to curate our own media that tells us what we want to hear, that's divisive. I mean, for better or for worse, when Walter Cronkite's the one dude on TV calling the shots, like I worry about that, and I think that we need to be mindful of that. I think we need to drink more, and I think we need less phones. I mean, if you could combine those two, we're good. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, but it is funny. So I told you we couldn't do the podcast earlier today. This is in the evening because I said, well, I got to drop my daughter off at a camp. But, I dropped her, and you can't take a phone with you. Like, no phones in the camp. It's like, I mean, these kids, they're engaging. They're having fun. They're doing stuff. And it's like, it's kind of what we talked about. I don't want to bring it back to the Sling Tower, but we talked about that with the Sling Tower too. Like, I feel like that online trolling bullshit, that's a huge part of our enemy.
Yeah.
Like, if you can get people to have conversation like we're having, or get them in a room, I mean, honestly, you could take, I guess there's going to be Jerry Springer situations, but I mean, for the most part, you could just drag people that had different thoughts and put them in a room together. They're going to figure it out. They're going to be nice to each other. I mean, some people are going to be assholes, but some people are going to be nice to each other. Most people are going to be nice to each other, Have
you ever done jury service?
I haven't. I did in the military, and I haven't done it civilly. I came close a couple of years ago.
Oh, my gosh. I got called for a murder trial back 25 or 30 years ago.
Wow.
Everything you've ever seen, like 12 Angry Men or whatever, like, oh my gosh, the whole thing. They ought to put a hidden cam and record what happens in a jury room. It is.
I bet.
So this was a murder trial, and there was really no dispute over whether the dude did the act that killed the guy. It was a family member. It was a sad story. It was like a fight broke out in the kitchen, and the guy stabbed the guy with a steak knife. But like we all knew that the guy didn't even deny that he did, that the fact pattern was the same, right? Like, we got into a fight and I stabbed him and he died. Like, that's not at issue. But the question is this murder? One, is this manslaughter? All of this. And all of the things that you would imagine take place in this jury room. There's the guy who's like, so I got elected the foreperson of the jury, which was great. But so we listen to the trial. We vote on a chair. That's me. Okay. And then the next thing, a guy's like, all right, well, he's guilty. Can we just call it and go home? And I was like, hold on. You're thinking about dinner. I'm thinking about the difference between 15 years and life. And that's a pretty significant difference. And Yeah, I think that the guy, I, I don't know. I mean, I could break this down, but I was not going to sign off on a verdict that was decided in haste. And I was like, look,
Yeah.
buckle up. We're going to have lunch. We're going to talk about this because that's the obligation that we've been put in. But all of the people dynamics that you can imagine. The one guy's like, well, he's guilty. Let's go home. And then the other person's like, well, and like all of those people, and we coalesced. I mean, this was not the OJ trial. You know what I mean? Like, I think we deliberated for a couple hours. But I was like, we're not just going to hang a verdict on this guy. We're going to talk this through. And I want to hear, dude, you think it's over? He's guilty? Tell me why. What was the part that put you over the top? The person that was hesitating. Why are you hesitating? I guess at risk of telling a long story, it 100% underscores what you just said. If you want to see the power of putting 12 people with widely divergent views in a room with really high stakes, I mean, the stakes are this guy gets out of prison in 15 years or he spends, he's like a 30-year-old guy. He's going to spend the rest of his life in jail.
Yeah.
The stakes are high. The views are different.
What happened?
We convicted on man two. Like, we kind of met in the middle. It was that murder trial was just a beautiful thing.
When was that?
Probably 2000, 2001.
2021?
Yeah, no, 2001, 25 years ago.
Well, I mean, yeah, it just seems like, it's back to everything we talk about. Like, there's a whole lot more that unites us and separates us. And that sounds like BS, but it is true. And I think, if you think about a country, it's like, do we really need to agree on everything to be in the same country together? No. We can have crazy disagreements. I mean, all we need to agree on is like, hey, we shouldn't kill each other. Okay, good. After that, we're good. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, and that each of us matters. Like, because then if I disagree with you, it's fine, but you get one vote, I get one vote.
Yeah.
And that forces us to come together. I worry about that.
And okay, so that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down as well. There's good things said about the founding fathers, bad things. One of the bad things they said about them is not all of them agreed that all people are the same. Not all of them agreed that people were of the same value. But I think the ideal was there. Like the concept was there. They may not have, for whatever, for all of their issues and problems and backgrounds and what have you, they may not have gotten there, but the concept works, right?
I think that's a really interesting point. And actually it's something that Martin Luther King spoke to. Like the down payment happened, but it didn't get fulfilled. And you're 100% right. Like the loudest voices at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia were slaveholders. And even they were some of them were some of them thought, they're slaves, that's the way it is. Some of them were conflicted about it. There's a range of, but everybody knew that this was an issue. But I completely agree with you. So there's a fork in the road, right? People look at this and they say, well, Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, therefore he was rotten to the core and nothing good came out of it. I disagree with that completely. I think you are spot on. I think that I think that he was trying to get there, but didn't quite. I think that these people also all grew up in a environment where things were different that way, and they didn't see the hypocrisy in some ways of the position that they took. But the idea, regardless of the values and the quality of the men involved, the idea was transcendent.
Now, the part I fear is what I would characterize as false equivalencies. One angle on that is the transgender movement. And I know that's a big source of conversation right now of, well, I'm going to discriminate against you because I'm going to say you have to go to a bathroom of your genetic gender, but you identify as something else. And so I'm making a judgment call that what you identify isn't an acceptable form. So I fear there's an angle there, but then I take it to another level of, this isn't an issue yet, but I could foresee it being an issue of robots in daily life. We don't have robots today. There's talks about humanoids and robots that are going to be in the house, and they've got prototypes out there that can do the dishes and cook you a dinner and all this stuff.
Did you see the Jetsons?
Exactly. But it sounds stupid, but I could see a point in time, not that far in the future, where people are like, well, robots have rights too. Like, robots are, and they're not going to call them robots, whatever the hell they're going to call them, humanoids, or, what is the terminology? But like, okay, at what point does some being that is a robot have the same rights as you and me? And is there going to be an argument over that? And that, I don't know. Some people may look at that and think that's a horrible thing to say, but I could see that happening at some point.
There are discussions about what does that mean? And insofar as AI, like AI is not something new. It's the aggregation of all that, if you want to get into interesting theological concepts. Right, like isn't that what
this
an LLM
robot is?
Is
Actually, all of us. Right.
Is that not what an LLM is? It is the aggregate of, like, we scrape the internet. Is the robot
the Holy Spirit? Right.
Yeah, we have officially crossed into new territory.
Totally.
I will just, we are also, it's the 4th of July, it's kind of, or 5th of July, it's kind of on our mind. I will also say that Supreme Court decision about state law and transgender, I think this is, I mentioned this in a previous one, that the number of these issues are small. As far as Title IX, for example, it's really interesting where it fractures along interesting lines, right? Like, no, I think that Title IX was meant to protect people of a different genetic gender and the different physical abilities that go along with that. And so I think that makes sense. As far as bathrooms, I think that's an overblown idea. I think it ain't that big a deal. And why not just make closed door restrooms that people could just use, and we don't have to, you know what I mean?
But, there are circumstances that we're going to be faced with that aren't necessarily something that was envisioned 100 years ago. And,
right.
And that's where I kind of go with the AI and the robot thing. Like,
but we got a system. We do have a system. We have an imperfect system. We have a flawed system. But we got a system that deals with things. Think about the things that the founders didn't anticipate. Like, the list is long. of stuff that they never anticipated. The whole idea of interstate commerce was, the wisdom of a requirement that the states not impede interstate commerce. Like, I imagine there were people that at the time were like, well, look, dude, we're in Virginia. Maryland's way over there. Who cares? Well, now you can drive from Virginia to Maryland to Pennsylvania by way of Delaware in a half an hour. Yeah. And so that wisdom of protection is playing out.
Yeah. Yeah. Years ago, I was in the military, and the A-10 aircraft, I worked on that A-10 aircraft in the program office. And we worked on this project because they used a cassette video recorder. And in this little cassette video recorder, and you're flying in a jet that's going 500 miles an hour and you're going upside down. Like, a video recorder doesn't work that well. And we got to talking about, what we need to replace it with is solid state memory. Well, this was like early 2000. Everybody's like, what, are you going to buy a gymnasium that's going to house, the solid state memory to power the video? And there was this guy we worked with, and he's like, no, we need that's the future. And everybody's like, you're freaking nuts. Like, how many warehouses full of solid state memory chips are you going to have to do a video for an A-10 flight? And the guy was like really stuck to his guns, and they went to a solid state device for video. And it's like, at the time, it was like, oh my gosh, this is a huge impact. Okay, fast forward 5 years, a year's worth of videos goes on something the size of your thumb, and it's like
SD card the size of your fingernail.
Right. And I kind of think it the same way. Like, I feel like the founding fathers, regardless of their faults, they saw a pathway to create something that could scale. And yeah. I think that's the beauty of what they came up with.
I agree. I will say, though, that an intrinsic part of that vision was a sense of respect for people with profoundly different worldviews and backgrounds. And, we talked last time about, did you happen to read what I sent about
I did.
Thomas Jefferson and John Adams?
They died the same day. And actually, one of them died. One of them died later than the other one thought, right?
So Jefferson died at Monticello, like 2:00 in the afternoon. Adams in Boston dies at like 4:00, and he's like, oh, yeah, here I go. But at least Thomas Jefferson still lives. And he'd already died. July 4th, 1826. 200 years ago yesterday.
Crazy.
But that part of the differences between those guys was that Jefferson's a landed gentry guy, right, with slaves and with the plantation and all of this stuff. And Adams is a businessman. He's from Boston, that's a manufacturing center. And they kind of loathed each other, but they had a respect for each other and realized that the country needed both of those things. Our country needs both. Like, our country needs liberals so that we don't completely lose our heart and throw everybody out in the cold. Our country needs conservatives because we need the stock market to keep rolling. Like, we need it all, and we need each other. I hope we don't forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like, you take it back to the concept we talked at the beginning, whether you're staring at fireworks or you're sitting in a church service and worship. I hope we look across that group of people and think, we need all these folks. And some are different than me, some think different than me, some of them I disagree with, but it's okay. We need them all, and we need to connect. And I think that's a message we're trying to say here. Now, hopefully that's a message we're trying to promulgate with this podcast, is like, we need each other even.
I agree. I would hope that, you and I both would acknowledge, I hope our listeners would acknowledge, if we got our way, if we had free reign to just do what we wanted, what our side wanted. I mean, this is part of why I've been so vehement about the whole executive privilege thing with Trump. And I'm not trying to just drum that up. I don't trust Donald Trump with the keys to this country. I don't trust Gavin Newsom with the keys to this country. I think that we need that dialectic. We need that struggle. We need things like the filibuster. It needs to be hard to pass legislation. Yeah. We need constitutional amendments to be nearly impossible to get. You've almost got to get consensus to get a constitutional amendment. Again, ripped from the headlines, this whole thing about birthright citizenship, man, it's spelled out in the 14th Amendment.
I laughed when that came out. Then some, again, different news feeds from your news feeds, and somebody's like, "Oh, we need a constitutional amendment." I'm like, "Yeah, good luck with that."
Have you read about the process?
I'm like, go for it. Let's see how it works out. Yeah.
Right? Like that is part of the genius of it. Like the more important, like the more consequential a thing is to enact, the harder it is to enact in this country. Yeah. Thank you, God. That's what's protects us.
And again, back to what separates us from a totalitarian regime. A totalitarian regime, there's not a lot of resistance when Saddam Hussein says, "Hey, we need to do X, Y, Z."
Yeah,
it's different here.
Agree. Well, we have created a fun week-long project for the producer who edits this podcast. Yes. But I think it's been a good conversation.
It's been very, very good. I appreciate it.
I do love this country. I love what we stand for. What America is on its best day, there's nothing like it in the history of humankind.
Yeah.
We're not always that. And what we need to be is what we are on our best day.
Well, and this World Cup thing, all these, you see a lot of news stories of folks, and I mean, none of these stories were about politics or your government says it. People like drinking beer and slinging it with strangers, and I think that's what it's all about, for sure.
Yeah, agree. Well, cheers to America.
Hear, hear.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this episode of Bourbon and Rum Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember to subscribe on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us keep the good spirits flowing.
And we invite you to join this conversation. Follow us on our Facebook page. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to hear.
And until next time, cheers.